Okay, another question from the bro question sheet. This one is, I'm inspired to write a book, Beyond the BS. I think the full title is Beyond the Bullshit. It feels so right, but I'm not sure what words will slide into the pages. My intention for the book is to engage people that are in business to begin the real inner work. What's the process that will work to allow the right information to flow from me? So basically, he's saying, I want to write a book. What's the best process for the words which are most appropriate to flow onto the pages? Alright. There's a wood chipper going in the background. It's slightly perturbing. Let's see how I go though. Channeling with the wood chipper backup track. Okay. Greetings and thank you for the question. Your brother wishes to know what is the process which will be most effective for him to write the book which achieves the objective he's hoping for. Let us start by saying that the objective that your brother has for this book is easily within his capacities. So it is not a stretch. It is not something that he needs to be fearful of, that perhaps he can't achieve or live up to the expectation he has placed on himself. Because at his level of self-understanding and his experience at healing others through his techniques, he is well qualified and has contained within his capacities the ability to create a book which will be highly effective in achieving his objective for those that read it. So the process of writing the book will be less about struggling to understand the concepts and to put together an understanding of information that he is not familiar with, but instead will be more of a process of getting out of the way and allowing what is already there to find its way from the wisdom and information fields that he has access to onto the page. So it will be a process of letting go, a process of trust, a process of becoming more aligned with the non-physical aspects of self. So it shall be an exercise in authenticity, because it is all there, waiting to be placed upon the page. So as a suggestion, when writing the book, spend less time in contemplation and more time in writing. And what you shall find, Andrew, is that when you get out of the way and just become a conduit for the information, that the information will find its own way. Hold the intent, be clear about the objective and the healing you wish to bring to those that read it, the new discoveries in self, the transformations, new understandings, expansions. Be clear about what that is for the reader. And then spend time in contemplation of the geometry. What is the geometry that manifests the objective? Get a feeling for what that is. Because the geometry is the basis, it is the template layer, the blueprint on which the physical reality will manifest. So while trying to manifest physical reality, it is more effective instead to create the geometry, the blueprint, and then on top of this blueprint, the reality shall manifest. So when you have a clear idea of what it is that you want to be happening within the reader, then imagine the geometry. The geometry not of the reader, the geometry, however, of the outcome, of the generalized effect. So, imagine that you have an audience of many hundreds of people, or many thousands of people, and they are, in a way, the single being. And so these people, in a general sense, as the single being, are going to be transformed in a way which you have as your intention. And that transformation of this unified being has a particular type of geometry. So, the book itself, in a way, could be called a physicalization of the geometry, but still in a blueprint, in a template-like manifestation. And so when they read the blueprint, the template, the purpose of it will be to create within themselves this new geometry. And then from this new geometry, they shall manifest their reality, which will be conducive to the intent you hold. So, if you wish to create in them this geometry on which they will manifest the changes that you hold for them, then when you write your book, write it in a way which is with this purpose in mind. So, spend less time speaking of the upper levels of the manifestation and be more focused on the underlying structure of the process of the self-understanding. Help them to be cognizant of the substrata of the manifestation of themselves, the junction where their substrata integrates with the geometry that they create. And this is why you are appropriate to write this type of book, because you have an understanding of the mechanics and the dynamics of personality, which are at the level of substrata of the personality, where there is an integration between the blueprint and the manifestation of self. And an extension of this manifestation of self is the manifestation of the life that each individual lives, because the life that an individual lives is their manifestation, that it is them. An individual does not live a life separately, but instead they are their life. Everything that was in the realm of the perception of an individual is themselves. You are your life. You are not living your life. You are not separate from your life. You literally are your life. All of it is contained within self. All of it is a manifestation, part of the dream of the highest self perspective which you truly are. Your true essence, the energetic which you are, is dreaming this life. Is dreaming the body, the mind, the personality, and is also dreaming everything which is outside of the body, which is experienced as life. It is all part of you. You are your life. And so, when you write the book, write it in a way which is helping the individual to understand this substrata of self, to understand the dynamics which are happening below the hood, the mechanics of the resultant personality they are, and the resultant behaviours they have, and the resultant life that they live. So take them under the hood and help them to understand what is happening within self, which is the substrata of what they experience of self, or the substructure of what it is they experience of self and of life. And at this level, this template layer of personality is the integration point with the template layer of the reality they manifest from the geometry which they are broadcasting into themselves, meaning into the life they live, because the life they live is themselves. So, in the process of writing the book, set for yourself a geometry which is conducive to what we have just described, where you are going to awaken the reader to their own substructure, to what is going on beneath the hood of self. And then this template that you create, when they read this book, they will form with it a group geometry. A group geometry which is your geometry and their geometry blended together. So you will, in a way, be providing a blueprint for their blueprint. So, hold the space. Similar to how when you are with an individual and you are working with them one-on-one, and you are able to hold the space. And as you hold the space, you are able to be a resonant representation with their geometry which they are working towards, and with a capacity to hold a geometric field which is conducive to living a better life, to having better emotional control, to having better relationships, to performing better in work, whatever it is that they have come to you for. When you are with them, much of the healing comes not from the words you say, but from the geometry that you hold when you are with them. And going on at a subconscious level is when someone who has come to work with you is able to trust you, and through your profound ability of being empathic and connecting with them at a deep level, it allows them to allow themselves to form a resonation with your geometry. And so their geometry begins to transform. It begins to map itself over your geometry. You are holding the frame. And from that frame, from that blueprint, from that very well-defined geometry, they, through the process of trust, allow themselves to relax into the space that you hold. And through this relaxation, through this trust in you, and a letting go of the fears and structures they hold erroneously, because they think they need to hold these structures to successfully manage themselves, manage their life. But much of this is false belief about self, about life, and so it is a detriment. Yet they hold them regardless, because the way that these beliefs were implanted were a process across a lifetime when there wasn't awareness and there was reaction instead. There was misunderstanding of the moment, of those around them, of themselves. And so they created these layers of false belief. And now they hold them because they believe they serve them, yet they don't. But as long as they hold them, they cannot get past them. They cannot relinquish them. They cannot become more authentic, such that these layers of false belief are released, and they can more authentically, spontaneously emanate as the true essence of who they are. Because the true essence of who you are is the non-physical energetic. The energy you were before you were born, and the energy that you are once you are released from this lifetime. This is the true essence of who you are. Yet through the lifetime, through experience, misunderstanding, being mentored by people that don't fully understand themselves, and so lay upon you their own false beliefs, then there is a layering of erroneous conceptualization of self. And as these layers become more and more and more, the true essence of self is lost, and authenticity is diminished. Because when a human is truly authentic, they are spontaneously emanating, because the higher self is outside of the body. The true essence of who you are, the energetic of who you are, is not the mind, the body, the personality. It exists outside of the body. And the body itself and the life itself exists inside the true essence of who you are. All of this is occurring. The conduit, mind, body, personality, the life that you live, all of this is occurring within the true essence of who you are. And so when somebody is authentic, they are not emanating a presence which originates from the mind, but are instead emanating a presence which is originating externally. And yet when they real-time download stream this true essence, this true identity, they divert it through the mind for curation. And this is where the beliefs are layered over what is coming through spontaneously. And authenticity is lost, is diminished. Because instead of being authentically emanating spontaneously into the moment as unadulterated presence, they are curating the feed. The download, real-time streaming, is diverted to the mind for curation. Don't say this, don't say that. Stop doing that. And then what is allowed to eventually emanate into the moment is contorted, is inauthentic, is bent out of shape, is not the true presence, the true you. And so, when this client is with you, when a person that has come to you for healing, when they are with you and you are holding the geometry and you have connected with them at a deeper level of empathy and they feel the trust, and in those moments you are becoming the single being, because they are giving themselves to you in the form of trust and faith. And when they have these moments of release where they can trust you, then the erroneous layers of belief are removed from the picture, because now their geometry, their presence, is templating off of your geometry. They are resonating with your geometry. And through the resonation of your geometry, you can help them to expand into space of knowing which they have been denying themselves access to, because they have beliefs which act as dam walls, which act as barricades, separations from them accessing this part of themselves. And however, when with you, the geometry that you hold and their ability to let go, because they have a strong sense of trust in the empathic feeling they receive from you, it allows them to become resonant with your geometry, with the profound geometry you hold, with the geometry that you hold that is very well defined. It feels very steady. It feels very dependable, very secure. And so they can step away from these beliefs they hold and allow themselves to form a resonation with your geometry. And when they feel this resonation, it is a way to go around the dam wall. And now they have access to parts of themselves that they have been denying, because they've had this wall of belief. And once they can circumvent, go around these walls, these barricades, these divisions within self, to reach new areas of self-knowing that they did not have access to before, then if they can integrate that into themselves, then the dam wall begins to crumble. It begins to dissipate. And over a period of processing, sometimes it will be very quickly, sometimes it may take days, weeks, months, but over this period of processing and becoming more familiarized and spending more time in this new energetic area which they have access to through the roadmap, the blueprint that you have given to them by holding this strong geometry, then this dam wall will dissipate and eventually vanish. And the other way of saying this is that the beliefs, the erroneous beliefs they've held through the process of the life they've lived, are let go. So, when writing your book, we suggest that you connect with your reader in a very similar way. Write in a way which, when they read, they feel a deep sense of empathy. They feel that you have true love and concern for them, and that you are creating a frame, a blueprint, which is safe and which is secure, stable, and trustworthy. And from this frame that you hold in the words on the page, this sense that you love them, that you want this for them, then encourage them, allow them to form a resonation with the frame that you are holding, with the geometry that you are creating. And then together, as it is done in the one-on-one sessions, you shall form a group geometry. Because in the one-on-one sessions, when you are live with an individual, when you have these moments together where you are able to connect with them very empathically and hold a firm geometry, and they can go through this process which we've discussed, where they can circumvent their belief barriers because they are able to resonate with your geometry. And through this process of resonating with your geometry, you are forming a group geometry. And the group geometry is primarily your geometry. It is primarily your map. And what they are doing is they are restructuring their geometry. And they are restructuring it in a way which is resonant with your geometry, with your blueprint, and then customized to their own nuance, their own personality. And so they will leave with a new geometry, and that geometry will be unique to them. It will be their creation. However, it will have been templated through resonance, which is made possible through the deep level of trust and empathy and sense of receiving love that you have a unique capacity to create. So in writing of the book, we suggest to be mindful of this, so that in the writing of the book, it is not just formalized and very businesslike. If you wish to stand out, if you wish to be unique, then we would say also this is going to be a strategy which could be a differentiation point. So that when your reader reads your book, that they feel that it is not just another business book. It is not just another guy in a suit speaking strategy, speaking in a way which is the same as everybody else. How to get better control of yourself so you can make more money, so you can advance through the ranks. But instead, they will have a sense there is true care here. There is more than just the formal business suit and the typical scenario that is intended with this type of book. So when writing the book, and you want this to flow, then we suggest that you allow yourself to flow as much as possible. So think less, write more. What shall happen is that when you write, it will take some period for you to get into a flow. And then once you get into a flow and you start connecting to more of the non-physical self, more of the true essence, and you get into a flow state, this is when what you're writing will begin to be taking on its most profound qualities. So, when you sit in front of your device and begin writing, do not have an expectation that in the first sentences that you are going to be feeling this type of connection. Perhaps at the later stages of writing the book, where you have become more conditioned and more practiced at this, yes, that may happen. But in the beginning, you may find that when you sit and write, that it is just stale, boring, plain old words on the page. However, if you have the intention, if you are holding the geometry, if you wish to heal this group being that is going to be reading your book, these thousands of people, if you want to heal them, and you have that as your intention, that you are going to hold the geometry, which awakens them to the substructure of their personality, so that they can create a geometry at this junction point between geometry and the emergence of the substructure of the personality. If you hold that as your intent, and then you write with trust and love and empathy for this being that is going to read your book, then you will find that as you continue to write, you shall continue to connect to these people. Because remember, your book, although it does not exist right now, does exist. It already exists. It already has been read by many thousands of people. And these people are in a different perspective of the now. So while in this moment of now, this perspective of now, they are not, but in different perspectives of now, which could be called the future, which could be called parallel universes. They have already read your book. They are reading your book now, in a different perspective of now. So when you hold this sense that you are creating new geometry because you have an empathic love for these people, they are not phantom people. They are not imaginary people. These are people that literally are reading your book in this moment of now from a different perspective. A different perspective of the now. And so you can connect to them. And you can visualize them reading your book and being profoundly touched. Because it is happening. There is versions of reality. This is exactly what is happening. And so connect with that. Have a feeling for that. And then when you write, allow that feeling to be present. Hold the geometry. Be connected to them through this feeling of empathic love. And trust that what you are going to write will be appropriate. If you start off and it seems to be slow, boring, don't worry about that. Do not stop. Continue to write. Every time you step away and you drop the book, if you step away because you feel it's not happening in the early stages before you get momentum, then what you are doing is you are taking 2 steps back after taking 1 step forward. So instead, persevere, be persistent, and just trust that as you become more able to hold the geometry, because through this process of writing this book, which is a new experience for you, you have not written a book in the past, then it is new, and it's going to take some time for you to truly clarify the geometry. And through this process of clarification, when you are holding the intent, and you are connecting empathically to these people who are reading your book from different perspectives of the now, then you will begin to very clearly hold the geometry. And as this geometry becomes more profoundly held with greater clarity, finer edges, more pronounced corners, then your flow onto the page will be reflective of this better resonance with the geometry. But it takes fine-tuning. It will be a process of honing in the geometry to become so intricate in the geometry that you can flow seamlessly onto the page. This will be a process. So, let us conclude by saying that what you wish to achieve is well within your ability. So if you have any reservation, can you do this, put that aside, because it is just unnecessary luggage. And it is a perturbance to the geometry you are wishing to create. So let that go. And start to, before you begin the process of writing the book, start to form an energetic relationship with this being of individuals that are going to be the consumers of your book. From these alternative timelines, from these different perspectives of the now, begin to familiarize with them, form a kinship, grow your love for them, connect to them, and cherish them, hold them in your heart, have a tear in your eye at how much you love these people, how much you are excited and want to give of self so that you may transform their lives to a greater place of happiness, to contribute to the shift in humanity through your love of these individuals that are going to be reading your words. And then when you have this sense of familiarity and you love them so much and you can sense them, you know them, you can feel them, then take that to the page, holding the intent of your geometry, and begin to write your love letter to these people. Allow your love to flow into the page, knowing that your desire is for them to be more capable of experiencing love and joy in every moment of their existence. We thank you. Trust yourself. You can do this. Thank you.